In the 1960s, drag racing wasn't just a sport, it was chaos. These cars weren't built for comfort, they were built for one thing: speed. And some of them were so extreme, they barely stayed on the ground. This was the golden age of drag racing. The rules were simple, because there barely were any. The golden age of drag racing. No safety rules, no limits, raw, unfiltered speed. Pure horsepower was the only currency that mattered. These were the machines that defined the strip. Car number 8, Pontiac Catalina Super Duty. Before muscle cars had a name, Pontiac was already winning drag races in full-size sedans. The 1962 Catalina Super Duty packed a 421 cubic inch V8, and Pontiac stripped out everything that wasn't bolted to the drivetrain. Aluminum front end, lightweight doors, minimum interior. It ran the quarter mile in the low 12-second range, which in 1962 was absolutely staggering for a car that could still drive to the grocery store. Why it's crazy. A full-size family sedan that embarrassed purpose-built race cars. Pontiac basically invented the factory drag racer concept. But the next car was even more extreme. Car number 7, Ford Fairlane Thunderbolt. Ford wanted a sleeper. What they built was a weapon with a roof. The 1964 Thunderbolt started life as a plain Fairlane, then Ford's engineers ripped it apart. They stuffed in a 427 high-riser engine, the same motor that powered Le Mans racers, into a car that weighed barely 3,200 pounds. The hood was fiberglass. The front bumper was lightweight. Even the windows were replaced with thinner plexiglass. This wasn't a car, it was a quarter-mile missile wearing a Fairlane costume. Why it's crazy, Ford hand-built only 100 of these. Each one was delivered directly to racers. It wasn't street legal in spirit, only on paper. Car number 6, Dodge Dart 426 HEMI. When you take the most brutal engine Chrysler ever made and drop it into one of their lightest cars, you don't get a street car. You get a drag car that happens to have license plates. The 426 HEMI was already legendary. Hemispherical combustion chambers, massive airflow, brutal torque. In the compact Dart body, the result was almost too much power for the chassis to handle. Drivers talked about the front wheels lifting off the line like they were trying to fly. Why it's crazy, Dodge delivered these to racers with the heater deleted, no radio, acid-dipped body panels, and hand-fitted drag slicks. Factory insanity. But the next car was even more extreme. Car number 5, Chevrolet Impala Z11. GM said it didn't exist. The racing world knew better. In 1963, Chevrolet officially withdrew from motorsports. Then they quietly handed 50 Impalas fitted with the secret 427 mystery engine to select racers. Aluminum intake, aluminum front bodywork, thinner glass. The engine had never been announced to the public. At the 1963 Daytona Speed Weeks, Z11 Impalas swept the drag events, running 11.7-second quarters at over 120 mph each. GM denied everything. Racers kept winning. Why it's crazy, a factory-backed secret program. Chevy publicly said they weren't racing, and was racing harder than anyone. Car number 4, Plymouth Belvedere Max Wedge. Before the HEMI, there was the Max Wedge, and it was terrifying in its own right. Plymouth took the 426 Wedgehead V8 with its wild upswept exhaust headers that looked like the engine was angry and bolted it into the lightweight Belvedere body. The exhaust exited in front of the rear wheels, routed specifically to get maximum pressure out before the tires hit traction. At wide open throttle, the sound wasn't a rumble. It was a war declaration. Why it's crazy, the exhaust routing was designed purely for drag performance. Street utility was an afterthought, if it was a thought at all. But the next car was even more extreme. Car number 3, Ford Mustang 427 SO HC. Ford built this engine to win at Le Mans. NASCAR banned it before it could race, so they dropped it into a Mustang instead. The 427 single overhead cam, nicknamed the Cammer, featured a single camshaft over each cylinder bank, a design Ford copied from their own GT40 program. It produced 657 horsepower in a Mustang that could barely contain it. The car required custom engine mounts, a custom transmission tunnel, and a driver who understood they were essentially steering controlled chaos down a quarter mile. Wyatt's crazy, an engine banned from every major racing series, stuffed into a pony car. The Cammer Mustang was a racetrack refugee that found its home on the drag strip. Car number 2. Dodge Charger 426 HEMI. By 1966, the HEMI had built a reputation that arrived before the car did. When a Charger with that distinctive hood scoop rolled to the starting line, the driver in the next lane already knew what was coming. Chrysler officially rated the 426 HEMI at 425 horsepower. Everyone in motorsport understood this number was fiction, a polite lie aimed at keeping insurance premiums from going completely off the charts. Independent dynos in race trim regularly showed figures north of 500 HP. The Charger's long hood gave the engine genuine room to breathe, and the car's weight distribution made its launches almost violent in their aggression. It wasn't just fast. Drivers who raced against it talked about the psychological effect, the sound, the reputation, the way it just sat there at the line, completely unhurried, because it didn't need to be in a hurry. The HEMI became so dominant that sanctioning bodies invented new racing classes specifically to contain it. The car that made the rulebook blink first. Car number 1, the ultimate Plymouth Barracuda HEMI Superstock. Everything this decade built toward, every crazy decision, every stripped interior, every acid-dipped body panel, every banned engine and secret racing program, it all came down to this car. Plymouth chose the A-body Barracuda, already one of their lightest platforms, and performed major surgery. Body panels were acid-dipped to remove every fraction of unnecessary weight. The 426 HEMI received a cross-ram dual intake, race carburetors, and headers built for one purpose only. The interior was gutted. The spare tire was pulled. Anything that didn't directly contribute to going faster in a straight line was removed without a second thought. The launch was violent in a way that photographs don't fully capture. The front wheels left the ground at the line. Drivers described it as being physically launched, not accelerating, but teleporting from one end of the quarter mile to the other. By 1968, these cars were running in the 10-second range. That number, a sub-11-second quarter mile, from something that technically still had a vehicle identification number, seemed impossible. It wasn't a street car anymore. It was the final, logical conclusion of an entire decade of drag racing obsession. Wyatt's #1, the HEMI Barracuda, is what happens when an entire industry spends 10 years asking how much further can we go. Light body, maximum engine, zero compromises. The purest drag car the factory system ever produced. By the late 1960s, these cars had pushed the limits so far that racing itself had to change. These machines didn't just set records, they forced the entire sport to evolve. Sanctioning bodies rewrote the rules. New weight classes were created. Safety requirements finally appeared, because when a factory-built car could run in the 10s, the old framework simply couldn't contain what was happening anymore. Modern muscle cars are faster, more sophisticated, and objectively better engineered, but they'll never carry this kind of raw, unfiltered madness, because the rulebook that these cars forced into existence doesn't allow it anymore. The very reason they had to stop building cars like this is the same reason we're still talking about them 60 years later. And honestly, that's exactly what makes these cars legendary. Which one would you take to the strip? Drop it in the comments below.